Hello everybody and welcome back to another exciting edition of Boyographic, the show in which I, Matt the Gameboy, talk to you about the highs and lows of the Gameboy library, one cart at a time. This week, it's a bit of a puzzle. It's Daedalian Opus. A lot of early Game Boy games are, as you might expect, pretty simple in their execution. As developers tested the waters with games for the system, it became increasingly clear with the success of Tetris that there was really a market for puzzle games on the Nintendo Game Boy. They're often straightforward visuals and mechanics saw a flood of titles hitting the market in the initial years of the system's release. While some were original puzzle titles in their own rights, a lot of games like Sokobon, released in those early days, were already wildly popular on other systems. Though some, like Vic Tokai's 1990 Daedalian Opus, were based on traditional toys and puzzles from outside the video gaming world. The game centres around solving Pentominoes tile puzzles, i.e. using pieces made up of 5 equal squares to fill out a grid. It's almost jigsaw-like in its simplicity, though unlike combining 200 pieces to make a fun picture of kittens in a basket, a Pentomino puzzle doesn't give you any visual indicators as to how to solve it, resulting in a lot of trial and error. Of course, the game doesn't just throw you in at the deep end by equipping you with the 12 already defined Pentominoes from the get-go. No sir. Instead, you start with just 3 and work your way up. You use B to rotate a piece and A to place it until you fill up your grid. Though you'll soon learn as your Pentomino collection grows, you'll also need to flip several of the shapes by pressing select, resulting in a total of 18 different piece options in each puzzle. Now, I know what you're thinking. Even at this point, you'll be able to tell if this is a game for you or one to avoid, and that's fine. To be perfectly honest, this kind of puzzle game isn't necessarily my favourite thing in the world either. But with 36 individual puzzles that ramp nicely up in difficulty, if you do like a quirky puzzle game, this might be one for you. Between each stage, you'll also be rewarded with a password, meaning if you get frustrated by a particular puzzle like I often did, you can put the Game Boy down and come back to it later. The game's title, Daedalian Opus, is a strangely fitting one, even if one could argue that a title that needs a pronunciation guide on the box was never going to be the best for brand recognition. The word Daedalian means ingeniously or cunningly designed, difficult to comprehend due to its complexity or intricacy, and this is a perfect word to describe a puzzle game of this nature. As you go through the game's stages, its puzzles certainly increase in difficulty. Some, I dare say, are even ingenious. The serious tone of the title is echoed in the game's North American box art, with a character in robes constructing something out of blocks and the power of his mind. And, well, it's in complete contrast to the game itself. Your in-game avatar seems to be a generic anime character, who under the watchful eyes of Dr. Puzzle and his down-with-the-kids, hands-on approach to puzzle solving, guides you through a world of fairies and recreational maths. Of course, if you've seen the Japanese box art, you'll see these characters as clear as day. So why the strange tonal shift in the game's title, box art, and messaging? As I delved into the game's manual to try and discover if there were any clues to this, I noticed something more interesting. The manual doesn't refer to the game's 36 puzzles, but to 42 of them. I quickly ran to the shelf and plucked out a multi-cart, only to discover that yes, the Japanese version of the game, Boken Puzzle Road, has an additional 6 puzzles. The 42nd is still the same as the 36th in the American release, i.e. you get a 13th square block and have to solve a puzzle in a monster cave, but the other 6 puzzles are simply just more difficult than those in the American release. Oddly, they don't appear from 36 to 41 either. They're just inserted into the order presented in the American release, and do, to be honest, mess a little with the difficulty curve. If you do have a Japanese copy to hand, you can unlock these puzzles by simply entering the same master code as the US version, ZEAL. Whichever version of the game you choose to play though, Daedalian Opus is a fun little puzzle game that you'll know if you're going to enjoy or not. Due to its relatively small size, it's often also found on multi-carts, so chances are you might already have a copy kicking around in your collection. If not, never fear, as like all good early puzzle tiles for the Game Boy, there are a ton of carts about, and therefore it's relatively affordable. If you're not into the gameplay, it might even be worth picking up for the relatively charming music, and of course, to hear the wise words of Dr. Puzzle. Until next time, Game Boys and girls, it's been radical. Laters. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Boyographic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the game and the episode, and hit me up on the usual places, Twitter at Gameboy and Facebook, yada yada yada. Until next week though, folks, where we will be at episode 100. Game on.